Just setting the live stream up, so bear with me. Okay, so we have Navigraph up and running. So we will be following this list of instructions, although we can see it here as well in LittleNavMap, which makes it a little bit easier to see. We'll get rid of that out of the way. So we're going to fly down from Tromso down to Helsinki in the CRJ. So this is the CRJ 1000, the stretch version. It's enormously long, isn't it? So you're going to have to be careful on rotate, I guess. Just check the volume levels, make sure that's all looking okay. It looks good to me. We'll just turn that up a bit. So this has gone really quiet again. I have to move the microphone really close to myself. Okay, so we're going to work through getting the CRJ up and running. Let's just double check first that the controls are configured correctly. So we have no controllers. Go back, control options. Come on, simulator, wake up. Keep default. There we go. And it's set on CRJ already, so that's good. Resume. Okay, let's just make sure we have got controllers. Yes, we have. We have spoilers, we have flaps, we have the throttles when we've done that. Okay, so let's work our way around setting the airplane up then, shall we? Control and 1. Turn the tablet on. Go to the aircraft section and connect the ground power. Then overhead, control 2. We're going to go and turn on the battery master switch and the DC service, which is external power, essentially. Bottom left, we're going to turn the nav lights to on. We're going to arm the emergency lights. Oh, crikey, mate, I'm so rusty with this aeroplane. So that's over here. You can see the external power cart is reflecting. Its lights are reflecting on the panel there. Pedestal, control 6. IRS section at the bottom left. Okay, so we need to lift this up. I remember this name. Switch the IRS system to nav. Then overhead, control 2. And do the APU switches. So you should see this little panel open up at the back. Here it comes. And you can see some heat starting to come out already. And if we come down here, we can press Elec here, and on the system page over here we can see when the APU comes up to speed. So while we're waiting for that, I'll have a quick look in the live stream chat, see if anybody's here yet. People are dribbling in bit by bit. It's going to be quite a long flight today, a couple of hours. So just waiting for power from the APU, which will light up here once it's up and running. So it will cross-feed onto it automatically. There it goes. And that brings up power to the co-pilot screen at the same time, so we can go and remove the ground power cart immediately. So control 2 takes us back overhead. We can do the no smoking and the seatbelt signs. which are over here. We'll put them both on auto. Anti-ice section at the bottom right, we can do the windshield heating, which is here. Put them both on low. Pilot seat, control 4. We can go and program the FMC for our route. So this is going to be quite involved, and I haven't done this for ages with the CRJ, so we'll see how we get on. So pick up the FMS position, drop it into the set position. The airport we are leaving from is Tromso, which is Echo November Tango Charlie. So we'll just go down here, Echo November Tango Charlie. Drop that into the airport, and then go to flight plan. And we'll go Echo November Tango Charlie over to Volanta, Helsinki, Echo Foxtrot Hotel Kilo. Echo Foxtrot Hotel Kilo. Okay. So we need to put our route in. So let's have a look at LittleNavMap. So we're going to do the Mocha 1A standard instrument departure. But then we're going to go P853 to Wrexham. But we need a starting point, so we'll put Mocax as our starting point. M-O-K-A-X goes in here, and then we do P853 to Wrexham. P853 to R-I-X-E-M. Then we go direct to Tuvlu. T-U-V-L-U. Then direct to Oslit. So we're crossing over between airways at this point, and then we're onto an airway. So then it's Y86 all the way to Ernut. Let's just check that, or is it Lucep? It's all the way to Lucep, isn't it? And then we change. So Y86 to Lucep. Y86 to L-U-S-E-P. And that's the beginning of the standard terminal arrival route. So, okay, performance initialization. So we're going to be flying at 33,000 feet. I'm going to leave all the optional stuff out. I've not really looked too much at the pilot operating handbook for this yet, but it's their optional parameters. So we're going to put the fuel in now. We should find a fuel up here somewhere. Here we go. Fuel quantity in kilograms. Total fuel 4460. Far more than we need. Execute that. And then go next page. Yeah, we don't need that. So VNav, performance initialization, it just leaps around in a circle at this point. So then we go to departure arrivals. So we are departing on runway 36 and doing the Mocha 1A standard instrument departure. So runway 36, next page, Mocha 1A, execute, go back to the index, go to the arrival. We're going to come into Helsinki, Vanta, runway 4 right, doing the Lusa 3R. So ILS for 4 right, and the Lusa 3R approach, and just execute that. Let's have a look at the arrival data. Yeah, we're looking good. So if we look at the legs, we'll just go and check through, see if there's any discontinuities. I thought there might be some around the direct points, but apparently not. There's one here, look, between there, so that's done. Next page, that's on the missed approach, so we're not going to bother with that. Okay, so that's essentially done. So we're ready to start engines at this point, but before we do that, I'm going to do things a little bit out of order. I'm going to go and set the heading and everything for the takeoff. So, oh, it's on 0 anyway. So this will probably have a heading bug at 0, won't it? Yeah, you can see it's across there. It's in FMS mode. I'm just double checking things around the cockpit. So we'll go and set the altitude, climb out. We're not using ATC, so we can go straight for our target altitude over here, which is fine. Speed. Let's set speed for 250. Or 200 actually would be enough, because that gives us enough excess thrust to climb out fairly easily. We can get rid of those cautions. So we're ready to start engines and do pushback if required at this point. So we're sat here on the APU. But before we do that, I thought it might be good fun to go and have a look at this airport. So this is the Simulations rendition of Tromso. So let's go and have a look at it. So you can see there's the passenger terminals and the car parks, and there's the wonderful scenery around here. So we're just going to pan around and then come back into the airfield as if we were visiting it. It's very cool, isn't it? It stutters a little bit, but that's just Flight Simulator being a so-and-so with threading, I guess. So if we come down, as if we're coming into the main building, we're really visiting the airport. They've really done a number on this, haven't they? It's quite spectacular. So there's the check-in desks. There's the automated check-ins. I'm guessing this is arrivals, isn't it? Because there's the carousel. So if we come down this way, through departures into the departure hall, or is that more no, it's more arrivals, isn't it? So is it upstairs? Yes, it's upstairs. So there's the departure hall. So you can see the gates out to the aircraft. It's amazing, isn't it? They really have done well with it. Very, very cool. So I've got custom scenery for Helsinki as well. We'll have a look around that when we get there. So let's go and fly along the building. They've done the whole building, look, all the the shops, the cafes, the whole bit. Oh my word. It's stunning. Waiting areas. It's just craziness. Anyway, let's go and put the camera back on the aeroplane for the moment. And we'll get ready to fly. How do you fix the flight plan discontinuity when it says manual? You go over the top of the manual one if you want to remove it. Anyone else having a stream lag? Apparently not. Mine looks fine here. I'm just monitoring it. on a second laptop just to make sure it's working, and it seems to be fine. Just refresh the... YouTube sometimes has issues with the streams, so, you know, with watching them, so just press F5 on your browser. I'm not sure if this one's available through Orbex, but it's made by Simulations. This version of Tromso. Okay, so I need to go and get the engine started, don't I? So I'm going back to the checklist for a moment. So throttles. Need to drag these off of the cut-off points, otherwise you can't move the throttles. Overhead, Control 2, we're going to go and turn the beacon light on, so there's the beacon light. We're going to go to the fuel section and turn the booster pumps on. We can go to the engine section and do left and right start, which is here. So then if we look down here and put you can see the engine data here, but you can also pull it up on the other screen as well. If you pull up where is it? Stats, I guess, gives you an overview, doesn't it? Yeah. Lots of things. So you can see the N2, the gas turbine numbers are coming up. It's a fully automatic start sequence on the CRJ, which is really cool. Yes, essentially, if you see manual in the flight plan, that means you have to fly it. That means you turn off the autopilot and do it, or you go to heading mode or whatever. You can obviously remove it from the flight plan, but it's on your head. Okay, so engines are up and running. You hear the bell when the engines are finished their startup sequence. So then we can go overhead and we can stop the APU now. So we just click the start-stop button and then close the hatch as well. So you'll see this closing itself. There it goes. I guess there's a risk if you leave it open, not only the aerodynamic forces, but the hot air from the engine could get ingested in. Hydraulics. Put them all on auto. So down, on, auto, auto. Air conditioning. Packs to on and recirculation on. Yaw dampers. So we come back down into the central pedestal for this. So here's the two yaw damper buttons. So we press both. Then we do stab trim. And then we do mech trim. And we look up here and you should see you have a clear screen all of a sudden. Okay, so we should be able to remove the chocks now. Just make sure I've got my parking brake on. So removed. Make sure we don't start rolling. Nose wheel steering needs to be armed. Just reading the checklist. Flaps go to takeoff position. So that should be 8 degrees. There we go. So then recognition taxi lights can go to on. And we'll taxi out to the runway. So just out of interest, let's go and have a look, see where we are. So we want to do a left turn. So we're not doing pushback, we're just going to shortcut this whole process a little bit. Get the airplane rolling. Of course, I'd forgotten, in the Airbus controller, doesn't work well with the parking brake. so you have to operate it manually in the CRJ. Okay, so we're just going to taxi out. To the runway here at Tromso. So we do this from outside so we get to see it. It's a beautiful part of the world, isn't it? We didn't go and look at the control tower, did we? This stretch version of the CRJ is going to be fun. I've never flown it before, so it's going to be a journey of discovery for me too. It's amazing these two little engines can push this thing along, isn't it? Okay, so we're just coming up to the turn for the runway. Obviously we have no ATC today, so we don't have to hold short and wait. Slightly uphill here, apparently. Okay, so just double checking things. Let's get the zoom level on this a bit bigger so we can see it easily. So for the initial climb out, we're going to go for speed mode. Can we pre-select the modes? Yes, we can. Climb at 200. And we'll go for nav mode, so FMS comes up, which is good. And we should be good to go. So brakes off, lots of throttles, all the way forwards. So this version of the CRJ doesn't have the annunciations in the cabin, which is different. It's a lot faster on the runway. Okay, that was different. So I need to operate this by hand because it doesn't work in this aeroplane. So let's just fly this by hand for a moment and see how it feels. So trim is working nicely. So we'll wind the flaps out slowly. Autopilot engage. So we're on max continuous thrust on the engines. So look at this from that side. That was remarkably straightforward, wasn't it? Well, we're about to find out how this climbs, so it should be interesting. Let's turn the target speed up to 250 knots then, until we get to 10,000. So it's beginning the turn, so it's anticipating the turn, which is always good. It's still climbing though and accelerating, so it's doing well. What can we put on the status screen? Primary is the same. The electric system. ECS. Very cool. Okay, so if we have a quick look at the chart, we see where we are at the moment. Or we would if it was projecting it, which it is now. So we're making our way around to joining an airway. So we've gone beyond the transition altitude now, but it was 2992 at the ground level today anyway, so nothing to do there. So it's beginning the turn, and it's got to 250 knots, coming up through 9,000 feet. We should have had the landing lights on actually below 10,000 feet, completely forgot that. This is what happens when you stop looking at the checklist and start watching the live stream chat. Not that we're going to have the lights on for long looks, we just come through 10,000 feet, so they come back off. And we can accelerate. So let's go and move the speed out to 300, shall we? Yeah, I just reading the live stream on the way down the runway. I wondered if I missed something in the performance data. I don't remember putting any V speeds in. I'm not sure if it has that, but I'll have to go and have a look later, have a proper look at it. So let's go and pull the throttles back to climb mode out of max continuous thrust. So let's just gently pull them back. Let's take off. Because it's a FADEC throttle system, isn't it? There's climb. So I'm at the top end of climb.
We are now serving sandwiches.
Oh, it has got the messages. I was expecting that to say, you know, time to do your seatbelts up and all the rest of it. Okay, so let's zoom out on the screen, and we've got a long flight ahead of us. Keep an eye on it as it climbs out, make sure it does get to 33,000 feet. We're in climb mode. Everything's looking good. That's got the wrong the wrong barometric pressure on the standby attitude indicator. And that one's wrong as well. They must be independently set then. That's good to know. So 2992. Do we just press that? Apparently not. They're still bugged then. That's been bugged for a long time in this aeroplane. You can't actually click it. I guess if you press B, that doesn't do it either, look. We'll ignore it. How are we doing on performance? So we're still 300 knots. Coming out towards the end of the standard instrument departure at Wrexham. Oh no, sorry, it's at Mocax is the end of it. And then we're just on the route after that. It's very pretty around here, isn't it? Top of Norway. That looks surprisingly like the landing lights are still on. Or is it the taxi lights? It's the taxi lights. Just double check, see what else I've missed. Should be able to turn the DC service off because we're not using it. Now there is in the index there's where is it? Sorry, it's in here, progress. So you can see the fuel estimated. We're going to have loads of fuel left at the end. It's not a very long flight. If you look on the legs page, we're a little bit ahead of schedule with the climb, which is good. So it always says TCAS off here, regardless of if you come in here. You've got TCAS auto, and it's saying traffic on, mode auto, TA only. What modes can we have? If we just put on auto, but the screen always says TCAS off. I don't know whether it's actually implemented or not, or whether there's a button we have to press to show the traffic. I wonder if there's something I'm missing that's obvious. If we make this shorter so we can see all the buttons, because this controls the displays. So is there something down here? Target speed. There's the barometric pressure settings, nav source, format and range, traffic. So it doesn't do anything. So maybe it's not implemented. I'll have to have a read about that as well later. Keep a note about it. Okay, the wind looks like it just changed. We've got on. There's hardly any wind though. It's 5 knots. It's not worth worrying about. Okay, so while we are en route, I'll just keep an eye on this until we get to cruise, and then I'm going to cut the microphone off for a bit, and I'll rejoin you at top of descent. So I'll leave the stream running, but we'll put it back to cruise in a moment. So just keeping an eye on this, because yeah, having never flown it before, I don't know what its climb performance is like. So you can see as we get into the thinner air, we're getting near the top speed on the indicated airspeed. We ought to really switch over to Mach number. I'm not sure if you can do that on here. Obviously it gives you the Mach number you're at. So I imagine it tops out about 0.79, something like that. Let's have a look at the status page. So it gives us the trims, temperature, coming up through 30,000 feet in a moment. The climb rate is slowing. We're making the turn at Wrexham. So let's increase the range so we can see some more of the route. So does any of this work? Terrain, radar off. Yeah, this is very, very slowly making its way up to 33,000, isn't it? It's in no hurry to do it. Shall we push it on, go to max continuous thrust? See if it helps. Not really, look, the climb rate has stayed the same. We're still in indicated airspeed mode, remember. Or speed mode, sorry. It's having real problems getting there. So what we're going to do, just to get to the altitude, is go to vertical speed mode and tell it to go up at 1,000 feet a minute just to get to 33. It will lose some speed, but then we'll get into cruise and we'll get the speed back. So you can see it's edging back away. So it's not maintaining 1,000 feet a minute, which is fine. Yeah, I know about the performance page, yeah, and the V-speeds, it's fine. But I just wondered if I'd missed that in the performance pages of the tablet. I probably did. So, next page. Yeah, I need to have a proper read up on this to see what's in here, what can be configured. It just seemed odd that there were no markers on the vertical speed, sorry, on the V speeds on the indicated airspeed ribbon on the runway roll. So we just the beep you just heard is we're within 1,000 feet of the target altitude. That's interesting. The speed bug has moved, so presumably it did that when I went to vertical speed mode. Oh no, it's moving on its own. Fascinating. So it's just matching the speed we're at by the look of it. So altitude is captured, we're within about 300 feet now of target altitude, so it should wind out the vertical speed automatically. You can see that happening. So we're going to pull the throttles back in a moment to cruise. There we go, cruise mode. And we are stable and steady, and the airplane is flying along like an absolute missile. And look how stable it is. It's not moving around at all. I think we've got like the calmest day over Northern Europe ever. So what I'm going to do is pull up LittleNavMap, go to Open Window Layout to the minimal, and zoom out. And you can see the route. Put that over there. I'll go into Windows, Taskbar, make it disappear. There we go. Put this off to one side, and I will leave it there for the next little while. So I'm just going to go and mute myself and go make myself a coffee. Okay, back in the cockpit. Sorry, come back a bit earlier. So window, open window there, bolts. So we are approaching Helsinki. So I thought we'd go over and have a look at Navigraph, which is its usual bug where it blinks the screen. So we are zooming down over the top of Finland and towards Helsinki. So if we go and have a look on Navigraph, we can go and have a look at the approach. Also the arrival, I should say. What is this really bad habit of calling stars standard approach routes and then not? They are standard terminal arrival routes. So, I'm just looking at the altitude, so above 10,000 feet at Lucek, and then above 3,300 feet at Melki, and Neku, sorry. But then you're looking at the ILS approach at that point. So we come in at 3,300 feet. So altitude of the runway elevation. That's interesting. So 152 feet. 180 foot for the airport. So if you didn't know, Helsinki's on a slope. Or the airfield is at least. So the left, runway 4 left, is a lot higher than runway 4 right. So there's a taxiway, you can't see it on this diagram, it's going to look a look. Yeah, so when you take this taxiway, it's uphill all the way. There's a stand up here where they de-ice aircraft away from the terminals. It'd be worth looking actually before we get there. How long have we got? Okay, we've got a couple of minutes yet before we need to worry about doing any of that. So if we go to maps.google, let's see if they've got Helsinki. So if we go on Volanta, so here's the airfield. If we put this into yes, it's got 3D mode, so we can put Google Maps into 3D mode. We can have a good look around the airfield before we get there. So yeah, this entire, you can see the slope actually even on the 3D view is downhill all the way from 4 left down to the terminals. Yeah, obviously this was photographed when they were still building this part of it. That's crazy, isn't it? That it's got that amount of detail. That's all obviously finished in the simulator, so... various service buildings done this in. So we'll be coming in 4 left. Sorry, 4 right. Get it right. Okay, so just looking at Livestream chat. Ridden the Great saying, what's all this then? We're flying into Helsinki. I was just having a look on Google Maps to get our bearings of what's where. Lenny Brooks says, hi Jonathan, is the Phoenix worth buying? Is it a lot better than the fly-by-wire? Yes. But I think the only people who would really notice the differences are A320 pilots. So, and maybe if you are studying to become an A320 pilot, it would make a huge difference as well. But yeah, the rest of us kind of just have to take it as read. If you go and watch video reviews, there's the several of the real Airbus pilots that have got YouTube channels. They were absolutely bowled over when the Phoenix came out, and they were saying, yeah, it's by far the best Airbus that there's been in a simulator, certainly in Flight Simulator. Just in terms of the tiny details in the avionics suite. Should we go and have a look inside? It's a bit quieter in here, isn't it? So we can zoom in on this now. And match the heading bug to the direction we're actually going. Does anybody know what time the Grand Prix is later, by the way? So yeah, by all means, go and look up some of the famous, the very well-known Flight Simulator YouTubers like Into the Blue, and yeah, there's several of them that have reviewed the Phoenix and were very, very complimentary about it. So if you are a fan of Airbuses, the Phoenix is very, very good. Apparently the tablet that appears in the Phoenix is going to be released as an independent product. So, you know, so you'll be able to use it with other aircraft. That should be good. Okay, so we're looking at 37 minutes to go until we arrive. How are we doing on the fuel burn down rate? Let's go and have a look. So 1700 left, yeah, so it's pretty much the same as we just sat in cruise all the way. Not been much in the way of wind. Look, we got a crosswind at the moment, but it's not very strong. But a remarkably calm day, really. It's been amazing on the external view. The plane's hardly moving. Look, it's very, very steady. So this is the 1000 version of the CRJ. So I ought to go and have a look actually. Let's go and look in community, and we've got the CRJ documentation. Is there anything specific for the 1000? Quick reference guide. Let's have a look. So zoom out a bit. I just want to see if there's any performance charts. So it's got a 900. That's a weight charts though. We want to know about performance for approach. So it would appear the 1000 doesn't have any data, which is great. Takeoff and landing, here we go. It's got max landing weights, but it hasn't got the speeds. Oh, here we go. Landing. Minimum manoeuvring. Up flaps, but that's not clear which aircraft. Oh, so 900, 1000. Okay. So we're looking at about 130 knots then. 130, 140 knots to be safe as a minimum. So landing, there's obviously various charts for different weights. So if we went for 140 knots at full flaps, we'll be fine. Yeah, they're very similar once you get round the... They were like within a knot of each other at 30 degrees. Okay, that's good. At least now we know. So Lenny Rook says, I'm a mere mortal, not a pilot. I think the major difference with the Phoenix Airbus is it has an external flight model. So it will hit frame rate because of it, but it seems much more like when you are controlling the aircraft with the joystick, you are telling the flight director what to do, or telling the flight management system, you know, point the aeroplane in this direction, please. There's a guy on YouTube, the Flying Fabio, I think he's called, who's also an Airbus pilot, I think. And when he first got the Phoenix, as he rotated and came off the runway, he was stirring the stick around, watching what was going on with the instruments, and he just started smiling, which I thought was the best result, you know, that the developers could have hoped for, because he could see the plane was behaving like the real thing. So where various other aeroplanes, you know, have tweaked the parameters in the flight simulator to make the aeroplane behave in a certain way, the Airbus, also the Phoenix Airbus, apparently is much more like a real Airbus in the way it responds and behaves. But again, we have to take this as read from the real pilots, because none of us know. It might, you know, it might feel very predictable and smooth to us, but they're the real experts, so it's go and watch what they thought. I'm not a good reference. I'm just the same as anybody else messing around with Flight Simulator and sharing what I've learned along the way, or sharing my escapades and adventures. So I would immediately defer for accuracy or whatever to the real pilots who do this week in, week out, and obviously know a lot more about the aeroplanes than we do. There was a really fascinating video actually on Into the Blue recently, where he had I think it was a 737 pilot, walked in around the cabin explaining where everything was and how everything worked. It was really fascinating. So I didn't even know there was a version 2 of the Phoenix Airbus coming in. It's news to me. Is that going to be a brand new aircraft then, or is it just an upgrade? I ought to keep an eye on this, didn't I? Yeah, we're at top of descent. So we're going to go and start our descent back down to... Now what did we say? We have to come down to 10,000 feet at Lucep. So let's do speed mode. Above 10,000, so we'll leave it, we'll give it 500 feet leeway, and we are dropping. So we're going to do that in plenty of time. You can see Lucep is there, so let's zoom in on the map a little bit as we get closer so we can see things a lot more easily. So 10,000 above, and you can see there's the line. That gives us some time to decelerate, although look at this, this is accelerating, so we're going to use the spoilers. I've noticed this about the CRJ, it doesn't always, the speed mode doesn't always work very well. So let's go and set the speed back to 250 already. So at the moment you'll see it's gone right the way out to Lucep, but the reason for that is we've commanded a deceleration, so it's lifted the nose to make that happen. Okay, so let's go and refresh our memory of what's going on here. So we're coming down for 10,000 feet at Lucep. Obviously if we were too high, there's a hold here that we could use to descend in. And then we're going to follow round. So let's use the spoilers a bit more to get the speed down. So it's not unusual to see aircraft using the spoilers. So you can see them here on the wings. In descent, because obviously it means you can expedite the descent. So obviously the reason to get to 250 knots is because below 10,000 feet you're not allowed faster than 250 knots. Also, let's go and look up while we're here information on Volanta. So we get information and we'll get the open the airport. Let's go and look at the weather. So we've got 1019 on the QNH. So let's go back to the flight information. So 1019, if we remember that, we'll have to change the barometric pressure. Can we flick this over? Yeah, 1013 at the moment. So in Europe they tend to use hectopascals, not inches. How are we doing on the fuel burn? 1670. We're looking at 1570. So obviously we're hardly burning anything at the moment because we're in idle as we drop out of the sky. So this is interesting. Look, this is flashing, indicating that maybe we should have changed. Or maybe it's already changed. That's interesting. Was it flashing earlier? So I've set it early, just to stop it flashing in our face. 1019. We need to do that on the other one as well. So that's 1019. Got some interesting weather on the way in. That's going to be good fun, isn't it? To be honest, I quite like it when the weather gets worse. So we can remove the spoiler now. Let's see if it will still hold getting to the target. So it's looking good. Yeah, we're just about on target. Look, to get to 10,000 feet at Lucep. We're doing 250 knots. So we are going the right speed to get below 10,000 feet. I need to have a proper read about this. It would seem that it should work, but I don't know if it's implemented, because there's the TCAS page in here. It's got all sorts of stuff, and it's on auto and traffic is on. But it doesn't seem to want to switch on in the tablet, and if you go and press like traffic, it doesn't do anything. So maybe it's just not implemented. Okay, we're down at 12,000 feet now and descending. You can see there's the 250 knot restriction comes in at Nappen. We're just coming in onto the standard terminal arrival route. Okay, we've just leveled out. So our next target is 3,300 feet by Malki. But that's not for ages yet. So what we can do, if we just increase the range on this, yeah, that's too much. So let's go and set that altitude. 3,300. And if we go speed mode, we can use the throttles to control the descent, or the descent rate I should say. So we can watch here, so it's 1,000 feet a minute, you can see the lines coming in. So we're going to be there a little bit early at the moment, so I'm just going to edge the throttles open a little bit more. I think you can actually see a marker there, so it's giving you some indication. I believe that's what that's for. So here comes the weather. Not an issue because we're IFR anyway. "24 minutes to go apparently, according to the FMC. So we're just making our way down. As we come past Helsinki, we'll be able to see it to the left of us. You can see the airports here. This is our aeroplane. It's looking good. Obviously we'll wind out more speed as we get lower. So let's have a look at the restrictions actually on the standard approach route. Have we got any more speed restrictions going on? Probably only for the ILS, I would imagine. It's all fine. So it's just managing the aircraft really, doing what it's comfortable with. So we're in roll mode. What happened to nav mode? I just noticed we had deviated from the plan slightly. So while we're doing this, let's go and get the ILS set up, shall we? So we want 38 degrees, 111.5. So let's go and check the nav radios. 111.5. So we need to check the course, which was 38, wasn't it? Yeah, so it's underneath that label. That's really helpful, isn't it? So you can see we're just coming down to the turn in. So we won't be able to see the course at the moment because we're in FMS mode. So what I'll do, I'll wait until we make the turn and I'll put us into heading mode. So let's get the heading bug in the right direction to start with, to match our course that we will be on in a moment. See, the wind is moving around a little bit. So the wind's gone behind us and it's causing us to drop like a stone. And obviously turning is going to reduce lift as well, so we'll see how we go. So yeah, someone just mentioned landing lights. Again, this is me not having procedure in front of me. So we should, if we get a break in the cloud, we should be able to see Helsinki, Volanta. It's behind that cloud. Clouds look great today, don't they? It's out there somewhere. About our 11 o'clock, by the look of it. Right behind that thick lump of cloud. Just out of interest, what's the outside air temperature? No, it's warm. Not got any issues with icing coming through the clouds. So I did say I was going to put the airplane into heading mode, didn't I? So let's go and do that. So, and then we can change the nav source over to localizer, and we can go and set the course to match the runway direction, which is 38 degrees. It probably already was on 38, wasn't it? Let's zoom in again. So we're offsetting slightly to counter the wind, but we'll see how we go with that. We're just following the route. But having said that, we could go back to nav mode now. And go to nav source to change it back to FMS. We go. Now, having changed the source, will it keep it honest? So coming down through 4,000 feet, so Helsinki should be off to our side, and there it is. So there's a 4 left, there's 4 right. Concentrate on what we're doing. So we need to get down to 220 knots as our next thing to do. There's a marker for it. Looking good. It's gone on to roll mode again. Look, it's lost. There we go. Flight directors are working now. And it's done altitude capture, which is good. So it should level out at 3,300 feet. Can't really see much, can we? Obviously when we turn around we'll be able to see the airfield. Hopefully.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please remain seated until we have stopped.
Should we turn that up so you get to hear stuff in the cockpit? Okay, so we'll zoom in again so we can see the waypoints on the approach. So obviously once we make the turn at 220, it's just us managing the airspeed for the aircraft to get down into the appropriate place. We're getting a bit slow. Keep forgetting this isn't got an auto throttle, so once you're in level flight you have to manage throttle yourself. Let's get us back to 220 knots. Okay, so it's in FMS mode, so it should make the left turn anytime soon. Or we could do it for it. Should we go heading mode and do it ourselves? So then we could change over to, having done that, we may as well go to localizer mode, and then we'll see the glide slope light up. Should get the localizer very soon. So let's go first stage of flaps. Get the gear down. Oh, we're a bit fast for the gear maybe. Let's oh, we were too fast for the flaps. So I'm just coming back to 180 knots. Gear down. So we got a slight crosswind, but not much. So we should be able to go for approach mode now. And we'll change the display to show us approach mode. So you can see now the center line. Just increasing the power slightly to stop us going any slower than 140. Full flaps. So I don't think this has auto land. So we'll be a little bit careful with it. Just moderating the throttles gently to hold on to about 140 knots. So there's the runway. It's a slightly offset approach, isn't it, by the look of it? So let's sit down normally, get this in view, and should we take over? So this is the runway. So autopilot disengaged. Oh, it's this one, isn't it? Okay, and we'll take it from here. A bit fast. So give the wings a wobble to prove it's me. Time to start concentrating. Get a bit low. Just lift it back up onto the glide slope. Keep an eye on that wind. So you've got 15 knot headwind, but it does seem to be moving around a little bit. So I don't typically use, there's a head-up display in the CRJ, I don't tend to use it because the velocity vector doesn't work very well. So I'd rather just go by the ILS, to be honest. Back out to 140 knots, keep it consistent if we can. I think it said 139 on most of the charts, didn't it? Going a bit high. Just fall back down towards the glide slope gently. I've not landed on 1.4 right before. Oh, sorry, on 0.4 right. So I've done 0.4 left before. The main reason for doing this was it's closer to the terminal, so the taxi isn't as far. Yeah, it's starting to stutter. Look, it's loading assets on the ground. So this is wonderful scenery. This is from MK Studios. This version of Helsinki. And it looks amazing, but it really, really stresses the computer. Not sure if the puppy lights work here. They're saying we're high, which we are. So if we just dip down and get back on the glide slope. So we're getting one red light. Yeah, it differs, look. It's the same issue you often get with Flight Sim. So we're going to go visually from here.
400. Sync rate. 300. 200. 100. Glide slope. Glide slope. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
There we go. the next exit. Nice smooth landing for a change. So we'll have a bit of a nosy around Helsinki airport here because it's really nicely done. We're going to have a look inside the terminal like we did at Tromso. So while we're taxiing, we can go and turn the landing lights off, put the taxi light on. Also go and get the APU on. Go and put the electric section status on the screen. We'll see when the APU is up and running in case we haven't got external power when we get to the gate. So yeah, you can see just how amazing the internals of all these buildings exist for you to go walking around. Very, very good. In fact, should we shortcut this? If we go, I was going to go around the back, but we'll cut in here. Oh, of course the van is pulled in front of us. Just missed the truck there. And he's about to get run over. And that van's just going to charge through us anyway. I wish they would improve the AI vehicles. Okay, so we're on the brakes. We go and put the proper brake on. We have got we got APU yet? Okay, why hasn't that come up? It's saying available. That's fascinating. Oh, it's done it now. Okay. So obviously we're getting all sorts of warnings now. So off, 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 off. Windshield heating can go off. The recirculation can go off. Aircon can go off. Should we release the seat belts and let the passengers go and have a bun fight? So off and off. Emergency lights can go back off. Fuel boost pumps can go off. And we could... Should we see if we have got ground power here? Yeah, it's not available. So we'll just go and turn the battery off. So we should lose avionics. He says, oh, of course we're on APU, aren't we? So we would turn the APU off. That gives us the last few bits and pieces, and then we can turn battery off. And the sim freezes. Chooses its moments, doesn't it? That's a server issue. You can see the spinner down the bottom right. It's suddenly caught up with the servers again. So we've gone cold and dark. And can we actually turn the tablet off once it's on? I'm not sure that we can we? Anyway. Have you ever noticed as well in the CRJ, the Skycam? This is quite cool. Oh, we have got no power, obviously. If I go and turn the battery back on, this is quite funny. If we go and turn this, do we have to cycle it? Oh, it won't do it without more power than the batteries will provide. But the yeah, next time you're in the plane, if you've never seen it, go and have a play with the Skycam. You get a view of the corridor. I thought we could open this. Can we just walk through it? No. Interesting. Oh, we need to turn off the nose wheel steering as well while we're here. So let's go and open the doors outside anyway. So we got passenger door open. So we should see that here. And it's activated the stairs all on its own. We'll put the wheel chocks in place. It's very cool, isn't it? I always forget how good the CRJ is. So anyway, that's the end of today's live stream. I'm going to go and watch the Grand Prix. I may even, well, we'll see how it goes. I may do another flight later, but I promised the kids I'll do some stuff with them, so I may not reappear today. We'll see. Take care. See you soon.